I want to ask you about immigration enforcement as well, because that's a big
Okay.
thing that we are seeing the Trump
Mhm.
administration in cities like Chicago and Los Angeles. We haven't seen really any kind of like directed ICE raids in Detroit, from my understanding. Mayor Duggan has been he's reaffirmed that we are not a sanctuary city here, although the police department doesn't enforce immigration law. They'll
They
cooperate
do
with
not.
ICE if they're asked.
You just answered my question.
Well, yeah, my question really is if we see the Trump administration want to do more targeted enforcement in Detroit, would you partner with that? What would your
Well,
relationship to that be?
well, it depends on what targeted enforcement is. If you're talking about targeted enforcement to take illegal migrants who are criminals out of Detroit, absolutely. This is a conversation I have often. And one of the things I will assure your viewers is, as Mayor Duggan indicated, and certainly I supported this as the police chief, that we're not the immigration police, number one. Two, we are not a sanctuary city, but we are a welcoming city. I've had good relationships in Southwest Detroit. Uh, However, if someone's a criminal, zero tolerance. Not because they're here illegally in our country, because guess what? Should we make exceptions for someone here in our country illegally who's committing a crime, but yet someone who is a U.S. citizen committing a crime, we say zero tolerance, you can't do that. Where's the fairness in that? And bringing up Chicago, another mayor I should talk briefly about, he has an approval rating of about 13%. 13% may be the lowest in the country. Why? Because he's done more for illegal migrants than he has for his vulnerable communities in South and West Chicago. There's a reason why many of these Chicagoans, mostly African American, who said, we're going to turn Chicago red because this is unacceptable. But again, going back to the core issue, I would do nothing. I respect the laws of our state. We're a welcoming city. We are not a sanctuary city. But if you come into our country illegally and you're a criminal, you're going to be treated just like anyone else.
In some places, the ICE agents have been going into schools and churches and other places that have been, I guess, typically off limits for immigration enforcement. What do you think about that? Should that
You
be
know,
allowed in Detroit?
well, again, it's situational. I mean, no, as just a general going in without any type of reasonable suspicion that there is a person wanted for a crime, that's troubling. And, I've had conversations with the president, not on the immigration issue, but I've always been candid with him. He knows who I am. So, I mean, uh, but if it was just a routine check, that kind of goes over. I mean, we certainly have a community here of law abiding folks that are here in our country illegally. They need to be protected. But again, if the reasons are based and surrounding a person wanted on a crime, a serious crime, we got to do now. We should take the time to explain to our community what's going on. One thing I've known, this is not a big criticism, but one thing I've always found, municipal police departments tend to, because of our relationship with the community, and I know this was something that was important to me, is to make sure we are, if we can't talk about it at the time of execution of whatever that operation might be, we owe it to our community to come back and say, this is why we did what we did. And that's what builds trust.